ಕಾಣುತ್ತಾ? ಹಾಂ ಹಾಂ ಓಕೆ, ನೋಡು ಕರೆಕ್ಟಾಗಿದೆಯಾ ನೋಡು ಫ್ರೇಮ್. Okay, shall we start? Yes, good evening. The first and foremost one, we'll be discussing about our weekly current affairs. Now with respect to our Mission 365, we'll be discussing about our weekly things. Now which all current affairs were in news in this week? Online, hope it is audible, visible? Yes, online, good evening. Yes. Now, ಯಾವ topic news ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಇತ್ತಪ್ಪ? The first one, which all topics this week? Which all topics? In this week, which all topics were in news? Now the first and foremost one, the first and foremost topic was news here is, we call it as the National Unity Day. Yes or no? The first one, National Unity Day, which is celebrated on which day? It is 31st of October. The first one we call it as October 31st. Now this October 31st, it is celebrated as the birth anniversary of the Sardar Patel. He is called as the Iron Man of India. This Iron Man of India's birth anniversary is celebrated as the National Unity Day. Sir, this National Unity Day, it is celebrated every year. What is the uniqueness about this year's? The first uniqueness here is, we are celebrating what? We are celebrating 150th birth anniversary. Now, because of this, it is highly important one. We'll see this first one. Second one. Now, second major important topic which was in news here is the major one. The major one we call it as the launching up of a mission. That mission we call it as the mission Drishti. Now what is this mission Drishti? Why this mission Drishti was in news? Online fast. Why this mission Drishti was in news? Yes, yes, exactly 150th birth anniversary, and exactly yes. Now this mission Drishti we'll see, highly important one. We are expecting a question on this. We'll see. The third major important one, it is ASEAN was in news. Why ASEAN was in news? Why online? First, it is addition of a new member. Now which is that new member? Addition of a 11th member to the ASEAN. What is ASEAN? Association of Southeast Asian Nations. Now addition of a new member, and that new member we call it as what? That new member we call it as, we call it as East Timor. It is also called as Timor-Leste. The Timor-Leste has been added as it is a new member in the last 30 years. In the last 30 years, the new member which has been added is what? East Timor. We'll see about it as East Timor. We'll talk about location, what is the capital, what is the geography. We will talk about ASEAN, and along with the things, while discussing on, we will talk about what is this project, why it is most important this year. We'll talk about this also, why it is important, and we'll talk about that. Now while discussing about National Unity Day also, we will talk about all such topics in today's class. Yes or no? Now the first and foremost, the topic which was in news in this week, the most important one, we call it as the 150th birth anniversary of what? It is Sardar Patel. Now while discussing about this topic, the first and foremost one, I've already said, whenever you are discussing about any topic, why we need to, it is discuss the first one, we call it as the news. Now what is the news, or what is all about the news about Sardar Patel? Now this year we are celebrating which birth anniversary? The 150th birth anniversary. Now this 150th birth anniversary has been celebrated in where? Celebrated in, we call it as Gujarat. Now this celebration has been attended by our Honorable Prime Minister also. Honorable Prime Minister also. This is about our first one. And the second major important one, the Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel's birth anniversary has been celebrated as what? It is Rashtriya Ekata Divas. It is also called as what? It is also called as Rashtriya Ekata Divas, as the National Unity Day. It is called as what? National Unity Day. Yes, this is about our first one. My simple question is, now what is the theme of this year's the National Unity Day or Rashtriya Ekata Divas? Online fast. What is the theme of this year's the Rashtriya Ekata Divas or National Unity Day? What is the theme? We have two important themes. The first theme we call it as Unity in Diversity. The first theme we call it as Unity in Diversity. The first theme we call it as which one? The Unity in Diversity. Unity in Diversity. And the second theme we call it as Ek Bharat Atmanirbhar Bharat. It's not Ek Bharat Shresth Bharat. It is Ek Bharat Atma Bharat. Now what do you mean by Ek Bharat? Ek Bharat, nothing but unity of India. And along with these things, we are also talking about what? We are also talking about Atmanirbharata Bharat. Now Atmanirbharata Bharat, in a simpler manner we call it as self-reliant India. It is called as what? It is called as what? The self-reliant India. The self-reliant India. This is about our first one. Sir, all these things are fine. The second part is fine. The third one, what is the uniqueness about this year's National Unity Day? What is the uniqueness of this year's National Unity Day? What is the uniqueness? Now, what is the uniqueness about? We call it as the National Unity Day. Now, this year, the major important highlights is some 3 to 4 important highlights are the present with respect to the National Unity Day. Now what is that? What is that uniqueness which is highly important one? First one. What is uniqueness? The first and foremost uniqueness here is this year it was a moving parade. It was not a static parade, rather it was a moving parade. First and foremost one. This year it was which parade? Now I hope you are aware about what is parade. Parade, it was a moving parade, but not the static one. Up till last year it was static, but this year we advanced it into, we call it as the moving parade. First one. Second one, now what is the second uniqueness here? Now the second uniqueness here is this parade is headed by female. The second one we call it as this parade is headed by. Now yaar headed by? It is the female. Headed by, we call it as the female. Second one. The third one, the most important, the uniqueness here is, now with respect to 150th birth anniversary, the Padayatris will go for how many kilometers? 150 kilometers, and preaching about it is the principles of Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel. 150 kilometers Pada Yatra will be undertaken to preach the principles and values of, we call it as Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel. And along with the things, now all the dogs which are being used, in the parade, it is all are indigenous. All the dogs which are being used, we call it as Which one? Indigenous. All the things are indigenous. So the highlights of, we call it as 2025. 2025, we call it as the National Unity Day or Rashtriya Ekata Divas. Done? Now this is about the first one. Second one, little bit about, we call it as Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel. Little bit about Patel. Now, when was Patel born? Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel. Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel. About Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel. Now, with respect to Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel, now when was born? What is when and where? Now, when the Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel has been born, and what the location of his birth? What the location? First one, you should know this. Now, what is the birth anniversary? The birth of, we call it as Sardar Patel. Now, Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel has been born on, we call it as what? October 31st in which year? In, we call it as 1875. In the year we call it as what? In the year we call it as 1875. First one. Second one, in which state? In a state we call it as Gujarat. In a state we call it as Gujarat. Second one. The third one, now who inspired Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel to take up freedom struggle? Who inspired? It is Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel freedom struggle. It is the inspiration for the Patel was, Gandhi or Gandhiji. Gandhiji is the inspiration for, we call it as the movement or to join a freedom struggle. Now, which is the movements or which all different movements which has been taken up by Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel? Now, what are the different movements taken up by Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel across the time period? Now, is the first one. It is the first one, we call it as Kheda movement. The first success of, we call it as Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel was, we call it as Kheda movement. The Kheda movement in which year? The Kheda movement in the year we call it as 1918. The first success for, we call it as Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel was, we call it as which movement? The Kheda movement. Now, second one, in which movement the word Sardar has been given? It is the Sardar as a word which has been given by it is the women leader. The women leader Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel after, we call it as after 10 years. After 10 years, Sandran? In the year 1928. In the year 1928, the word Sardar has been given. The word Sardar has been given to whom? It is Vallabhbhai Patel, and later on it is called as Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel. Yes, this is our second one. Now, which is the only INC? Which is the only INC which was presided by, we call it as Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel? It is Karachi session. The session which was presided by, we call it as the Sardar Vallabhai Patel, we call it as which one? The Karachi session. Online, I hope it is clear. It is Baradoli Satyagraha in the year 1928. Perfect. And the third one we call it as the Karachi session. The Karachi session. Now, in this Karachi session, now what was the highlights of this Karachi session which took place in 1931? Be cautious. In the year 1931. Now, what was the highlights of this? We call it as Karachi session. It is majorly different resolutions has been brought in. One we call it as what? Fundamental rights. And second one, economic justice. Highly and highly important resolutions. The concept of economic justice, and this economic justice has been inculcated as a part of preamble as well as DPSP. It has been inculcated as, it is preamble and we call it as DPSP. And second one, it is today's day fundamental rights. Majorly, the resolution has been taken place in which year? In the year 19, we call it as 31. The year 1931. Yes or no? This is our third one. The fourth major important one, the advancement which has been taken up or which has been done by Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel in the form of, we call it as establishment of, we call it as the civil services. And for the establishment of civil services, he is called as what? Now majorly we call it as, he is called as the establisher or the father of the steel frame of India. The father of steel frame of India, and which is called as steel frame. Now which authority or which government service, we call it as the steel frame of governance. Now the steel frame of governance, we call it as which one? Now IAS, and we call it as IPS. Be cautious. During the period of, we call it as Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel, he established two important things. One we call it as Indian Administrative Service, and the second one we call it as Police Service has been established and led to the establishment of Steel Frame of India. The Steel Frame of India. Along with the things, he united different provinces. Now, how many different provinces and princely states have been brought in under? It is Indian Union. Now, how many? It is 565. More than 560. Now, more than, we call it as the 560 provinces has been brought in under the, we call it as single union. And that single union we call it as what? That single union we call it as Indian Union. Now, which princely states resisted to join the Indian Union? Majorly we call it as three princely states, and that three princely states we call it as Jammu and Kashmir, and the second one we call it as Hyderabad, and the third one we call it as Junagadh. Now, how this resisted princely states also been brought in under the, we call it as authority of Indian Union. Now, why are under, we call it as instrument of what? Instrument of accession. Instrument of accession with Maharaja Hari Singh. With Maharaja Hari Singh, first one. Now with Hyderabad. Now Hyderabad via police action. Now which is the operation which has been launched by, we call it as Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel. And that we call it as operation, which operation? Operation, we call it as the Polo. It's a 5 days, the police action to include Hyderabad also under the Union. Second. The third one, what about Junagadh? Now Junagadh we call it as via plebiscite. All this, it is, we call it as the princely states and provinces are being included as a part of, we call it as Indian Union. And because of these things, he is called as Iron Man of India. Because of these things, he is called as, we call it as which one? Iron Man of India. Because of the things, he is called as Iron Man of India. He is called as Iron Man of India. He is called as Iron Man of India. The major one we call it as Iron Man of India. Yes. This is about our major concept about the contribution which has been done by the Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel towards India. Now sir, for all this contribution, we have established the world's tallest statue. The world's tallest statue, and that world's tallest statue we call it as what? Statue of Unity. What is the height of, we call it as the Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel statue? It is, we call it as 182 meters. The major one, it is Statue of Unity has been established. Statue of Unity has been established because been done by our, it is the first, we call it as the Home Minister and the first Deputy Prime Minister, which has been done by the first Home Minister as well as first Deputy Prime Minister, done by the first Deputy Prime Minister Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel. Yes. Now this is all about our aspects about Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel. Now with all one question, let's try this at least. Online fast. Solve this question. The major one we should know about, which one is incorrect. Now with respect to incorrect one, consider following statement regarding Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel. Now Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel, he served as the first Prime Minister of India. Is it right or wrong? Now who is the first Prime Minister of independent India? It is J.L. Nehru. And this is wrong. And he was instrumental in integrating the more than, we call it as 560, the princely states into the Indian Union. The complete option is wrong. Second one, as a president of Indian National Congress during Karachi session, which took place in Karachi in the year 1931. That led to inculcation of, we call it as, two important resolutions. One, we call it as concept of economic justice and concept of fundamental rights, which also ratified the Gandhi-Irwin Pact. Second option is correct. They're asking which is incorrect. Now which is the option? It is the major one, we call it as only one. Only one is incorrect. Yes, this is about our first one. Now second one, the second major important, the topic we call it as Mission Drishti. This year highly important, expect a question on Drishti. Sir, my question is, what is this Mission Drishti? Why this was in use? And why are you saying this topic as most important and the most expected also? The first one, it is news. The news. Now what news is this? The first one, Mission Drishti. Mission Drishti will be launched in the first quarter of 2026. This will be launched in the year, the 2026, that is next year, and it is considered as the world's first. It is considered as, we call it as what? The world's first. The first. The major one, we call it as multi-band. The band sensor, world's first. Multi-band sensor. Now to go for multi-band sensor, the private organization is launching which satellite? It is what satellite? Earth satellites. Yes, the first one. Now the Mission Drishti majorly talks about, it is launching up of, we call it as, more than 10 satellites. More than 10 satellites we will be launching in a gradual phased manner. The first satellite will be launched in when? Will be launched in, we call it as quarter 1 of which year? Quarter 1 of 2026. And that we call it as world's first. World's first multi-sensor. World's first multi-sensor and India's largest private satellite. And India's largest private satellite will be launched by, we call it as, a private organization and a space startup called as Galaxy. Majorly we call it as Galaxy. Yes. Now at least the first part, news, is it clear? Now world's first multi-sensor Earth observation satellite, and also India's first and India's largest, the private satellite with a weight of 160 kgs. We'll see that one by one. Just a news. Just a news. Now, sir, now this project mission Drishti has been launched, or I can say will be launched by, it is which organization? Will be launched by, first, Yaru. Will be launched by a startup, private startup. Launched by, we call it as a private startup. Private startup and alumni of IIT Madras, and also the IIT Madras alumni. They'll be launching what satellite? They'll be launching, call it as Earth observation satellites. My simple question is, now what are the advantages, or what are different types of satellites we have? What are the different types of satellites we have at the world level? Now first one we call it as communication satellites. Second one we call it as navigation satellites. Third one we call it as Earth observation satellites. Fourth one we call it as mapping satellites, climatology the satellites. All these are the n number of satellites. Now we are majorly talking about Earth observation satellites. Now this Earth observation satellites, will it be restricted to India alone, or will it be expanded across the world? It is the SpaceX, or the majorly we call it as the startup called as the space startup called as which one? Galaxy. It is Galaxy. It's a startup. Now they are planning to launch. How many satellites? They are planning to launch more than 10 satellites. More than 10 satellites, or in the range of, we call it as 8 to 10 satellites. Now the first satellite will be launched in which year? The first satellite will be launched in the year. We call it as 2020. Will be launched in the year. The first satellite will be launched in which year? The quarter first of 2026. Done. Second one. The third one, sir, what is the uses of this satellite? Why we want this satellite? What advantages? Now they provide the positives of satellite. It is, we can go for remote. We can go for first one. It is, we can go for remote sensing. We can go for calculation of, we call it as what? Disaster management. Can be used in forestry, forest fires, controlling of forest fires. Can be used in agriculture. Can be used in infrastructure. Can be used in, we call it as, the major one we call it as, it is mapping part. Now all those things will be done by, a satellite called as which satellite? Earth observation satellites. Sir, all these things are fine. Now what is the uniqueness about this mission Drishti? What is the uniqueness? The first and foremost uniqueness, I said that it is a multi-sensor, multi-band sensor Earth observation satellites. It goes for how many sensors? It goes for how many sensors? Multi-sensors. It goes for multi-sensors. I've already said this. And second one, what will be the satellites, or what will be the weight of the satellites? How many kgs? Now each satellites will be having 160 kg weight. Now if it is 160 kg weight, this is considered to be it is India's largest privately built satellite. It is considered to be what? India's largest what? Privately built satellite. India's largest privately built satellite. Exactly online. It is India's largest privately built satellite with a weight of how many kgs? 160 kgs. Second. Now third one, now what is the accuracy? Now it is data at what distance from the ground? What distance from the ground? It is now majorly. Now it provides us with, we call it as the real data is being provided. What is real data? Yes, now what is real data or real-time data is being provided? Nothing but live data is being provided. Now is it restricted to only India or across the world? Now real-time data, it is, be cautious, it is not only restricted to India, rather it is restricted or against expanded across where? Across the world. Across the world with the accuracy of, we call it as 1.5 meters. With the accuracy of, we call it as 1.5 meters accuracy. With the accuracy of 1.5 meters. 1.5 meters. And because of the things, this mission Drishti is considered to be the, we call it as the largest, the world's, the first, the multi-sensor. By using multiple sensors, the remote sensing and earth observation is being done here. And second one, it is the largest private, the satellite built in India. And the third one, it provides what data? Real-time data or live data is being provided here. The fourth major important one, it is the biggest achievement for India. Now it is done by, it is the IIT Madras alumni, nothing but the youths of India. And the fourth major important one, it is not restricted to India alone, rather it is expanded across the world. And this is the most important advantages of what? Most important advantages of, we call it as a mission called as Mission Drishti. Yes. Now my simple one is, sir, all these things are fine, sir. Now do we have it as private entry in the space sector? Now do we have it as the private players entry into the space? If it is yes, how much percentage of FDI has been allowed in space? Now with respect to space, now who is the regulator of space? Space sector. Who is the regulator? It is the regulator, we call it as Department of Space. It is, who is the regulator? We call it as Department of Space. Now this Department of Space directly comes under now ministry, directly controlled by, we call it as the Prime Minister of India. Under this Prime Minister, we have majorly called as the implementing partners called as ISRO, implementing partners called as the major one called as Antrix, implementing partner called as NSIL, the major implementing partner called as InSpace. Now, what is the function of ISRO? What is the function of ISRO? The major function here is, it is function, we call it as the government. The government, we call it as the satellites are being launched by whom? Majorly, ISRO is controlled by, or it is majorly owned by government. Now, major this ISRO is being used for launching up of different satellites. Launching up of different satellites, launching part. Now initially it was called as INCOSPAR. And later on it has been renamed as what? Renamed as ISRO. And in which year it has been renamed? It is majorly we call it as August 15, 1969. Because they've asked the question, this INCOSPAR has been, it is Indian Committee on Space Promotion and Research. Now this INCOSPAR has been renamed as what? ISRO. In which year? 1969. And where is the headquarters? Now headquarters, it's in Bengaluru. Headquarters, it's in Bengaluru. Yes or no? I hope it is clear. First one. Second one. Now what is this anthrax and NSIL? It is commercial wings of ISRO. Now what does commercial means? It is the promotion, buying and selling of the satellite, the data. All these things have been done by, we call it as the anthrax and NSIL. Now anthrax is the first commercial arm. This NSIL we call it as New Space India Limited. New Space India Limited. After 2019, now these two are called as, now which arms? The commercial arms of, we call it as ISRO. Commercial arms of ISRO. Now what is this in space? It is India. It is the Space Promotion Authorization Center. Space Promotion Authorization Center. Now what is the function of this in space? What's the function of in space? Now the major function of in space we call it as encouraging private participation in space sector. Encouraging whom? It is private players in which sector? Space sector. Now what is the FDI we have in space sector? 100% has been opened for the private FDIs in the space sector. 100% was. Now the major one we call it as, now which is the first rocket which has been developed by private players in India? Which is the first privately built, the rocket launch vehicle? That we call it as Vikram Yes. That we call it as the Vikram Yes. Now who is the father of space sector? Vikram Sarabhai. The Vikram Sarabhai. Yes, you should know about the basics about all these things also. Done? I hope it is clear. Now after this, if it is clear, solve this question. If you are able to solve this, done with the topic itself. Online exactly yes. Agnikul developed by Agnikul exactly yes. In insurance also it is 100% in union budget. 2025 we have opened up for insurance also 100% exactly yes. The commercial arm of INCOSPAR has been established in 1962, and after that in the year 1969 it has been renamed and it directly comes under PMO or PM office. Exactly yes. Yes, majorly the 8 to 10 satellites will be expanded across we call it as world with 1.5 meter accuracy resolution, 160 kgs. Yes, yes. Done? Yes. Now what's the answer online fast? Okay. What answer for this? Now okay. The mission Drishti is India's first. Is it India's first or world's first? World's first. It is the world's first. The world's first multi-sensor Earth observation satellites developed by whom? Developed by, we call it as Galaxy. It's not ISRO, all weather day and night also. Day and night, it is except this two, it is, everything is correct, but the option is what? Wrong. Second one, the satellites carries synthetic aperture radar with high resolution, HD resolution, 4K resolution. Now high resolution optical enabling Earth observation even during cloudy and low night also. It is correct. It is Option is what? Option D. It is assertion is incorrect, and we call it as the reasoning, we call it as reasoning is true. Nothing but for second question, answer is D. Done. I hope it is clear. The third one we call it as the Kenton Miller Award. The Kenton Miller Award, the IUCN. Now what is IUCN? International Union for Conservation of Nature. International Union for Conservation of Nature. Now when this IUCN has been established, where is the headquarters of IUCN? I know it's Switzerland. It's in Gland. Now IUCN, International Union for Conservation of the Nature. Now this initially it was called as IUPN. Later on it has been renamed. Now the headquarters we call it as the Gland. It's in Switzerland. First one done. The second one. Now which is the major important reports which are being released by IUCN except red. Now I know what you know. Now the most important report which is released by IUCN is Green Status Report. The most important one we call it as Green Status. The Green Status Report is released by IUCN, Green Status Report. And second one we call it as Red Data Book. Red Data, the book. Now recently this IUCN we call it as the Congress meeting took place at, we call it as where? In Abu Dhabi. Where is Abu Dhabi? It is UAE. Now the IUCN, the World Congress, the World Congress meeting which took place at where? Which took place at, we call it as Abu Dhabi. Where is Abu Dhabi? Abu Dhabi, it's in, we call it as Abu Dhabi. Abu Dhabi, it's in which country? UAE. Where is UAE? Middle East. It's in Middle East. Now in Abu Dhabi, our first, India's first, it is the Sonali Ghosh has become the first person to get which award? The Sonali Ghosh has become the first Indian to receive which award? The IUCN we call it as, it is Kenton Miller Award. Now IUCN Kenton Miller Award has been received, has been received by, it is Sonali Ghosh. Now she is the director of Kaziranga National Park. She is the, be cautious, she is considered as what? The first, India's first person to get which award? The Kenton Miller Award. Now she is also the director of which one? Director of Kaziranga. Now where is Kaziranga? It is Kaziranga National Park and Tiger Reserve. She is the director of the National Park as well as Tiger Reserve. And India's first person to get this Kenton Miller Award. Done. Now the first part, is the news part clear? Now is the news part clear? If it is clear, the second one or the next one we call it as, what is this IUCN Kenton Miller Award? Highly important one question this year. Kenton Miller Award. Why Kenton Miller Award is news? Why it must be a question for this? Why? Because India's first, and that too a female, it has received a award because of her contribution, immense contribution we call it as, for the protection and conservation of, we call it as, the majorly rhinos in the Kaziranga National Park. Now because of the things, she has been received an award. Now when it comes to, we call it as award. Now what is this award? Now who provides this award? The first one we call it as, the first one, this award is provided by, this award is provided by which organization? IUCN. IUCN, the World Commission on Protected Areas. It is provided by IUCN, World Commission on, we call it as the Protected Areas. It is provided by IUCN, World Conservation on Protected Areas. Majorly the World Commission on Protected Areas, and this award we call it as Kenton Miller Award. It is provided by. Sir, when was this award established? When was this award established? Now it has been established on 2006. Established in the year, which in the year we call it as 2006. The year 2006. And the third one, the third major important one, it is given to the which criteria? The contribution to which field? Now along with these things, who is this Kenton Miller Award? Who is this Kenton? Who is this Kenton Miller? Now majorly he is a former director of IUCN. Former director of, we call it as IUCN. This Kenton Miller, he is, we call it as former director of IUCN. Now he was known for protection of, we call it as nature and the ecosystem. Now after his we call it as, after his we have established, we call it as an award on his name to majorly to give recognition to this. It is the director called as the Kenton Miller, to give more contribution to this, the former director of IUCN. Yes. Now since then we are providing we call it as award. Yes. Now in which field this Kenton Miller Award is provided? Now one who protects it is protected areas, or one who protects the biodiversity. One who protects, now which areas? The protected areas at which all level? At local level or national level, or at what level? International level. It can be at any level. Local level, national level, or it can be at international level also. International level also. One who protects, they are being awarded the Kenton Miller Award. Yes or no? Now this Kenton Miller Award, sir, is it released annually, or is it released once in 2 years, or once in 5 years? What do you think? Now this award is provided once in how many years? It is provided once in, we call it as 2 years. Now if it is released once in 2 years, such awards are called as what? Biennial. If it is released or if it is provided once in, we call it as 2 years, and that award we call it as what? Biennial award. Such awards are called as biennial awards. Such awards are called as biennial awards. Exactly, online it is called as biennial awards. Exactly. And the third major or the next major important one here is, major important one, sir, does it include any cash prize? Does it include any cash prize? If it is yes, how much dollar it has been provided? Now it includes a cash prize of 5,000. The 5,000 we call it as dollar. The 5,000 has been provided. $5,000 it has been provided to the winners. Provided to, we call it as the winners for, we call it as Kenton Miller Award. Now who is the first Indian to win this? Who it is? Sonali Ghosh. Sonali Ghosh. This is about the basics about, we call it as be cautious. It is provided to, we call it as now one who have conserved with respect to protection areas by inculcating a concept of innovation, by inculcating concept of sustainability, by inculcating concept of protection of different organisms. And all this, now one who do that, or I can say one who protects that, automatically they are being given an award called as Kenton Miller Award. Yes, this is first one. Second one, little bit about Kaziranga National Park. Next one we call it as, the next one we call it as Kaziranga National Park and Tiger Reserve. The first one, now this National Park and Tiger Reserve, it is provided which act of our Indian Parliament? Which act? It is WPA Act of 1972. It is, be cautious. Now National Park and Tiger Reserves are being established under, we call it as WPA Act of 1972. WPA Act of 1972. First one, yes, exactly, Sonali Ghosh. And second major important one here is, now what's the location of Kaziranga? The Kaziranga, we call it as Assam. It's in Assam. The third one, now this Kaziranga, it is famous for which organisms or which animals? It is one-horned rhino. We call it as which one? One-horned rhino. One-horned rhino. Now where can you see highest number of one-horned rhino? It is one-horned rhino. Highest number, it is present in which national park or in which state? It is Kaziranga itself. Highest number wise, it is Kaziranga. Highest number wise, it is Kaziranga. Highest density wise, Pobiotra. Again, Pobiotra is also present in where? It's in, now where? Assam. Majorly it's in Assam, Pobiotra. It is majorly, we call it as, it is highest density, it is present in, we call it as Pobiotra. Pobiotra, highest amount of, we call it as, or the highest density of, we call it as one-horned, we call it as rhino. Exactly, yes, density wise it is Pobiotra. I hope it is clear. Now what's the IUCN status of one-horned rhino? The IUCN status is vulnerable. IUCN status is vulnerable. This you should be aware. And the next one, the next major important one. Now little bit factuals about Kaziranga. Now which tiger reserve or which national park has become the first national park to use for surveying and sensing? It is Kaziranga. The first national park to use, we call it as the satellite phones. Satellite, the phones we call it as the Kaziranga Park. Second one, which national park has observed the first albumin tigers, the white tigers? White tigers, again it is, we call it as again it is Kaziranga. It is albumin tiger. Albumin tiger, and that we call it as what? It is the Kazi. Major, we call it as the Kazi. The albumin tigers, it is present in where? Kazi albumin tigers. The first tiger, the first white tiger which is present in where? It's again in Kaziranga. This you should be aware. Yes or no? This is about the major one. Exactly, yes. What about black tigers? Where have we established world's first melanistic tiger safari? Simlipa. Where is it? It's in Odisha. Be cautious. World's first melanistic. Now melanistic means black tiger. Melanistic tiger safari. Melanistic, the tiger safari where? Melanistic tiger safari, it is present in, we call it as Simlipal. Where is Simlipal? Odisha. Perfect. Simlipal, it's in Odisha. The Simlipal, we call it as Odisha. Simlipal, it's in Odisha. Yes. Now, which state has the highest amount of tigers? It is which country has the highest amount of tigers? Which country? It is India. India has 75% of tigers. India has 75% of tigers. Within India, it is Madhya Pradesh, followed by Karnataka, followed by the Uttarakhand as the highest amount of, we call it what? The tiger population in a state. Now, which tiger reserve has the highest amount of tiger reserve, or which national park has the highest amount of tigers? It is which tiger or which national park has the highest tigers? Jim Corbett National Park. With respect to tigers category or national park category, if it is states, the states. If it is country, India. Second or the third one, based on national park, first one is Jim Corbett. Jim Corbett. Second one is Bandipura, and third is Nagarhole. The second one is Bandipura, and the third one is Nagarhole. Jim Corbett, it's in Uttarakhand. Bandipura, Nagarhole, it's in Karnataka. It's in Western Ghats. It's in Western Ghats. Yes or no? What is the IUCN status of tigers? Endangered. IUCN status is endangered. IUCN status is endangered. Yes. Now, which is the major project which has been launched recently to conserve and protect the big cats? It is IBCA. We call it as IBCA. What does IBCA means? International Big Cat Alliance. This has been launched on the eve of 50th anniversary of Project Tiger in 2023 in Mysuru, Karnataka. Launched by Prime Minister in 2023 on the eve of 50th anniversary of Project Tiger. IBCA protects 7 big cats. 7 big cats. Yes or no? Done. This is about our, we call it as Kaziranga National Park, and little bit concept about, we call it as major about the tigers. Done. See, whenever you are reading about current affairs, see, this should be your idea. You should read about the in and around aspects also. See, that you should practice. Now solve this. Online fast. Yes, from Mysuru on 50th IBCA Big Cat Alliance. Exactly, yes. IUCN status is endangered. You should know. And you should know about M stripes. You should know about M stripe cataract, the project. That you should know. Yes. Now online, is the voice clear? Yes, online. Virat is the game changer, perfect. Yes. Okay, now what's the answer for this? Now, okay, it is the easier one. The Kenton Miller Award. I said that IUCN, International Union for Conservation of Nature. Now, the IUCN is an NGO. Be cautious. It's a non-governmental organization. It's not a UN body. It's an NGO. The World Commission for Protected Areas Kenton Miller Award 2025 consider the following statements. The Dr. Sonali Ghosh, she is the director and the first person to win this award called as Kenton Miller Award. The first one is correct. First one is correct. Asking incorrect. Second one, the award includes a US dollar of not 10,000, rather it is, we call it as what? 5,000, and a global recognition also. Second one is incorrect. And the third one, we call it as the award recognizes individual demonstrating the innovation and excellence in product management. And yadoppa incorrect andre, it is only 2 is incorrect. Only 2 is incorrect, and option is, we call it as the B option. Done? Yes. I hope there's no doubts up till here. The next one, the next topic, we call it as the Kerala. Now, which state has become the first state to declare it is free from, we call it as, it is extreme form of poverty. It is Kerala. Yes. The first one it is news. The first one we call it as, be cautious. Again, all these are important. All these are important. You should know. Now, the first one, the Kerala has become the first state. Kerala has become the first state in India to declare as what? Declare as, we call it as, extreme poverty eradication program. It is the first state to extremely, or I can say eliminate, we call it as extreme poverty, boss. Now, is the first state to declare? It is Kerala. Now, shall I ask you a basic question? Now, what do you mean by extreme poverty, and which is the first country in the world to declare free from extreme poverty? Online fast, it's a challenge. Try. Is the first country. The first country we call it as China. The first country we call it as China. And the second one we call it as, sir, now what do you mean by extreme poverty? Extreme poverty means, according to World Bank definition, if an individual are spending less than how many dollars? It is $3. According to 2025, it is $3 per day per. What do you think? Per person. PPP. What is PPP? Don't say public-private partnership. What is PPP? Purchasing power parity. On the basis of purchasing, if the individuals are spending less than $3 per day per person, they are called as what? They are called as, it is extreme poverty. They are called as the extreme poverty. Done? This is our first one. The second one is with India. Now, which is the first one? It is Kerala has become the first state to eliminate. It is extreme, the exactly yes. The recent, the update. Exactly yes. Now, coming back to we call it as, the first one about this we call it as, the first one about Kerala. The first one, now we call it as, the first one as, now related to this Kerala. Now, first one, now when was this project established? Now, the project which has been established in the year 2021, and the project is what? It is Extreme Poverty Eradication Program. The project we call it as Extreme Poverty Eradication Program has been launched in the year 2021 by, we call it as, it is LDP government or the Kerala government, or we call it as the Kerala government in the year 2021. Now, according to this project, how many parameters are being taken into consideration? How many parameters are being taken into consideration? Now, it takes into consideration the 4 important parameters, boss. Which is that? It is the 4 parameters which includes food, health. It is food, health, livelihood and housing. Livelihood and housing. Now, the 4 parameters are taken into consideration. It is food. Second one, it is health. Third one is livelihood. And the fourth one is shelter. Nothing but housing. The 4 parameters are taken into consideration while it is declaring it is extreme poverty. Now according to it is this 4 criteria, in the year 2021, how many families were under we call it as extreme poverty, or how many persons were under extreme poverty? It is in and around we call it as 65,000 where it is it is extreme poverty. Around we call it as how much? Around we call it as 65,000 were under poverty. Now in the year 2025, it is approximately 60,000 has been, it is brought outside the extreme poverty. It is brought outside. How many? How many has been brought outside extreme poverty? 60,000. Now we are left with what percentage? Now we are left with only 0.7% of Kerala. 0.7% of Kerala are under extreme poverty. Be cautious, it's not zero. It is still 0.7% are under extreme poverty. Nothing but if it is less than 1%, such states are being declared as what? Free from extreme poverty. Free from extreme poverty means they have achieved a sustainable goal. Which sustainable goal? Now which sustainable goal talks about? It is no poverty. It is 1. SDG 1. Now sustainable development goals 1. Sustainable goal development number 1 talks about, we call it as no poverty. Talks about, we call it as no poverty. Now which state has become the first state to achieve this? It is Kerala. My simple question is, sir, if it is Kerala, what strategy they have taken to achieve this program or elimination program? Now what is the strategy which has been inculcated? Now what is the strategy which has been inculcated? Now they went for 2 important strategies. Highly and highly important one, it is we call it as a role model for the different states to inculcate such strategies to eliminate the extreme form of poverty, extreme form of stunted, extreme form of malnutrition, extreme form of hunger. Now what is strategy which has been inculcated? The strategy we call it as micro plans have been taken up. Not the macro plan, it is complete across the state. Micro plan, family plan has been taken up. Individual, separate family, the planning has been taken care. First one, what is the strategy here? The first one we call it as, it is micro plan has been taken up. Now which state has become a micro plan? Which state has become the first state to take up micro plan? Micro plan, individual plan rather than generalistic plan. Rather than, take an example of any state. It is, do we go for micro planning or generalistic planning? Now we normally go for generalistic planning across the different states or across the state. But Kerala government have gone for micro plan, and the individual family planning has been taken up based on the need. Based on what? Based on the need of the project. Based on the need. And along with the things, they have included local self-government and self-help groups. They have included local self-government and we call it as self-help group. Now which is the most important self-help group which was present? Yes or no? It is major, or which was the major SHG which was functioning with respect to, we call it as, it is in Kerala with the most successful one. It is Kutumbashri. Major SHG which was working in Kerala, we call it as which one? Kutumbashri. Now Kutumbashri, along with that things, the third tier government has been included, and that we call it as panchayats and municipalities has been included to achieve a project, we call it as, it is major, we call it as extreme poverty eradication program, which has been launched in the year 2021. Yes, no, what about PDS scheme? That too for poverty, exactly, yes. See, there are n number of poverty related schemes. Not only PDS, we also have MG Narega, we also have National Food Security Act, we have Ayushman Bharat for health, we have livelihood, we have Kaushalya Vikas Yojana. Now with respect to housing, we have Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana. Yes or no, boss? It is n number of the projects which has been launched by Government of India, major to eliminate the poverty. It's exactly on and exactly yes. The food, health, livelihood and shelter has been taken into consideration. Yes or no? Now this is about, we call it as the Kerala related aspects. Be cautious, highly important one. Now it has become the first state, it is Kerala within India. And second one we call it as, now who is considered as poverty? If a person is less than, it is $3. The $3 per day, it is per person. And such personalities are called as what? It is extreme poverty. Third, what are the criteria which has been taken into consideration? It is 4 parameters that we call it as the food, livelihood, shelter, and fourth one, health has been taken into consideration. According to that, it is approximately 65,000 were being considered as extreme poor in the year 2021. But now it has been reduced to what? Less than 0.7%. Nothing but it is 60,000 has been eradicated, or I can say removed out of extreme poverty. The fourth one, now it is based on this, they have achieved a SDG goal called as, it is SDG, we call it as 1, that is no poverty. Done? Yes, this is at least, this you should know. The strategy we call it as, the micro planning, individualized planning or individual family planning. It is not about family planning, it's not about it is population control. It's about individual micro plans has been taken into consideration by taking family as the parameters. And second one, it is implementing partners are panchayats as well as we call it as self-help groups. Yes. Now if it is clear, now a little bit basics. Now what is SDG? What is SDG? Sustainable Development Goals. How many SDGs do we have in India? It is, now how many goals and how many targets? How many goals and how many targets? It is 17 goals and how many targets? 169 targets. First one. Now this SDG report has been released by which organization? United Nations Sustainable Development Network. It is released by, the report was released by United Nations Sustainable Development Network. Yes or no, boss? Now this SDG has replaced which goals? Millennium Development Goals. This has replaced Millennium Development Goals. This Sustainable Development Goals is for how many years? 15 years. And it started in which year? 2015. And this will achieve, or I can say this will end in which year? 2030. This will end in, we call it as 2030. Exactly on, exactly, yes. Perfect. 2030. Next one, the SDG report is released. It is SDG. The report is released. Now, I can say by which organization? Again, report is released. It is, according to this report, what is the rank of India? Now, for the first time, the rank has been within 100. For the first time since last 10 years. It is within, we call it as, within what? 100. What's the rank of India? It is rank of India is, we call it as 99. Rank of India is 99, less than 100, 99. And next one, within India, the SDG report is released by which organization? Niti Aayog. Within India, it is, report is released by Niti Aayog. According to the recent, the Niti Aayog, the India SDG index. Now which states have been ranked the top? The which states have been ranked the top? It is again Kerala and Uttarakhand. The Kerala and Uttarakhand has been, it is ranked, we call it as, again, the Northeastern SDG Index has also been released. SDG Northeast Index. It is released by again. It's not Niti Aayog. It is by Donair. Fastest online. Kerala, perfect, yes. Kerala and UK are the ranked top in India. Now it is now within the Northeastern one, which Northeastern states have been ranked the top and which one is least. Now this SDG is released by, the Northeastern one is released by, we call it as the Donair. Donair supported by, we call it as Niti Aayog. What does Donair means? Development of Northeastern region. Development of Northeastern region supported by, we call it as Niti Aayog. Support by Niti Aayog. Mizoram has been ranked the top and Arunachal Pradesh has been ranked the least. Arunachal Pradesh has been ranked the least. Yes, I hope it is clear with respect to SDG index. Then it is Sustainable Development Network. Now the concept of sustainable development has been for the first time given by, it is Brundtland Commission in which year? 1987. In the year 1987, by we call it as Brundtland Commission. By we call it as Brundtland Commission. Brundtland, we call it as Commission. In the year 1987, we call it as Brundtland. Brundtland Commission. Yes, this is all with respect to our, we call it as SDG 6. I hope it is clear. Yes. If it is clear, solve this. Okay, done. What's done for this? Now the first one, it is the Kerala is said to be the officially declared free from the poverty. It is Kerala fine. And second one, during the first, we call it as, it's not the first country, it is the first state in India. Now in the world, which is the first country? China. Now complete assertion is wrong. Now if it is assertion is wrong, normally we call it as. Next one, it is according to the World Bank, extreme poverty is defined as, we call it as, the living on the less than, we call it as, is it $10 or is it $3? $3 as per, we call it as PPP. Now on the basis of PPP basis, what is the rank of India? On the basis of PPP, it is ranked third in the world. On the basis of nominal GDP, fourth. On the basis of nominal GDP, it is ranked the fourth. It has been ranked the fourth. This you should know. Both 1 and 2 are incorrect. Both 1 and 2 are incorrect. That's the case. What's the answer for this? It is ready. Both A and R are incorrect or false. Done. This is about the question. Yes, online, perfect, yes. Majority are solving, perfect, yes. Next one we call it as the cloud seeding. Now what is the cloud seeding concept? What do you mean by cloud seeding? Artificial rain. The cloud seeding. Now why this cloud seeding was in use? Why this cloud seeding was in use? The first one, it is Delhi government has announced. Delhi government has announced it is the first cloud seeding in Delhi. First cloud seeding in Delhi. First cloud seeding in, we call it as Delhi. Now why they are going for cloud seeding in Delhi? Especially during the month of November. It is majorly, winter is starting. Now when there is more amount of winter, automatically the pollution starts to intensify in Delhi. Now if there is a artificial rain, automatically the pollution will start to settle just near the ground. Yes, now majorly to reduce the pollution in Delhi. That we'll see one by one. Now first and foremost one, what do you mean by this artificial? What do you mean by this artificial rain? Or it is also called as what? Cloud seeding. It is also called as cloud seeding. Now in Delhi, this cloud seeding as an initiative which has been taken up by which all organizations? Taken up by, now this artificial rain, or it is also called as formation of cloud seeding. Now this initiative has been taken up by, now which all organizations? Taken up by three important organizations. One we got is what? Delhi government. It is taken up by, we call it as Delhi government. Delhi government. Second one, IIT Kanpur. IIT Kanpur. IIT we call it as Kanpur. Second one, what about third? The third we call it as, with the support of, we call it as IMD. We'll see about IMD also. IMD is celebrating 150 years of establishment. 150 years of establishment, we'll see that also one by one. Now my simple question is, sir, what is this cloud seeding? Why we want cloud seeding in Delhi? One, what do you mean by this cloud seeding? Now cloud seeding means, we call it as artificial rain by usage of what? By usage of three important the components here. Now which are that three important components? Now majorly we can use it as silver iodide. We can use silver iodide, or we can use potassium iodide. Along with that, we can use what? It is dry ice. First one we call it as silver iodide, or I can use potassium iodide. Potassium iodide. And along with these things, we need to use what? We need to use dry ice. Sir, my simple question is, why we need to use potassium, or I can say potassium iodide, or silver iodide, or dry ice? Now what is the function of all these three? Now what functions does this three play? What function? Now majorly which acts as a base for the settlement of moisture, which acts as a base for, we call it as formation of clouds, and that we call it as, which acts as what material? Hygroscopic material, which acts as, we call it as what? Which acts as, we call it as hygroscopic, which acts as which material? Hygroscopic material, which acts as hygroscopic material. Now if it is hygroscopic material, which acts as what? Which acts as base for the, it is settlement of what? Settlement of moisture content, settlement of moisture content. Now if it is hygroscopic material, automatically it leads to the formation of what? Clouds. It leads to the formation of clouds. When there is a formation of clouds, automatically there must be what? There must be rain. Now why are we trying during, we call it as winter? Why are we trying it is during winter? Now majorly to control, it is to control, we call it as air pollution during winters in Delhi. Now will this project be successful? Now why not no? If it is no, why not? Why not no? Why won't it be? Now even if it is, I can say success also, it will be partial success. Why? Because in Delhi, of we call it as inverse normal lapse rate rather than normal lapse rate. Now in the inverse normal lapse period, can we experience the formation of clouds? No, of course. Now what is inverse normal lapse rate? What is normal lapse rate? It is with increase in height, the temperature starts to what? Decrease. And this we call it as normal lapse rate. Now with increase in height, if the increase in height, if there is a increase in temperature, we call it as what? We call it as inverse normal lapse rate. Now with respect to inverse normal lapse rate, can there be formation of clouds? Never, boss. Cloudless nights will be there. When there is no clouds, even if I add chemicals also, it does not form clouds because of increase in temperature above the surface. Because of inverse normal lapse rate, again it leads to a cloudlessness. No clouds. When there is no clouds, even if I add this also, can we expect rainfall? Can we expect rainfall? No. We cannot expect the rainfall, and that leads to a formation of what? That leads to a formation of, we call it as cloudlessness. Cloudlessness. Be cautious whenever, as soon as I say inverse normal lapse rate, no rainfall at all, except in Mediterranean. Except in Mediterranean, it is we cannot experience, it is rainfall during winters. Again, even in Mediterranean also, it is not formed because of, I can say, cloud formation, rather it is formed because of a local winds. When there is winter, never formation of clouds. When there is no clouds, no rainfall. When there is no rainfall, there will be formation of what? Pollutants. Near to the ground, we can experience fog, we can experience smog, we can experience we call it as pollutants also, near to ground. And such formation of inverse normal lapse rate, which is experienced in, we call it as Los Angeles smog. It's not the London smog, rather it is called as Los Angeles smog. There are two types of smog which can experience in Delhi. One we call it as Los Angeles, and second one we call it as London smog. London smog normal experience we call it as where? Normal experience in London, now in India, Los Angeles smog. This is a major important one. You should know as a part of, we call it as, while studying about artificial rain, or we call it as cloud seeding. Yes. Now, whenever I am discussing any topic, I am discussing only 5 topics as such. First one I said that it is the support of what? Delhi government. Second one. Now my question is, now recently who was sworn in as it is CM of Delhi? It is Rekha Gupta. Now she is the 3rd CM of Delhi. If that is the case, who is the first female CM of Delhi? Who was the first one? It is Sushma Swaraj. It's the first CM or the first female CM. Second female is Atishi from Aam Aadmi Party. And the third one again from BJP, we call it as Rekha Gupta has been sworn in as what? The CM of Delhi. Yes. Now as of now, we have only 2 female the CMs. One is with respect to, we call it as West Bengal, Mamta Banerjee, and the second we call it as Rekha Gupta. The second one or the 2, it is we call it as the female CMs. As of now also. Delhi, she is the 3rd one. She is the 3rd one. Now with respect to Delhi has been given it is the special powers under which constitutional amendment act? under 69th Constitutional Amendment Act, this Delhi has been provided a special powers, as we call it as NCT Delhi. NCT Delhi, that we call it as National Capital Territory of Delhi. Exactly, yes. Exactly, yes. The majorly we call it as the majorly. It is the Delhi part. None clear? This is about our the major one. Now the second one is about IMD. What's IMD? Indian Meteorological Department. The first one I said that they are celebrating 150th, it is anniversary of establishment. If that's the case, when it has been established? Again same, Sardar Patel, 1875. 1875, first one. Second one, what is IMD? Indian Meteorological Department. One of the oldest, I am using a term called as one of the oldest in India. One of the oldest scientific organization established, and we call it as India. Comes under which ministry? Ministry of, we call it as Earth Sciences. Ministry of Earth Sciences. Now what is the objective? Now climate and meteorological related aspects are being handled by, we call it IMD. Climate related aspects and weather related, meteorological related aspects have been done by, we call it as IMD. Headquarters is in where? Headquarters in New Delhi. They are celebrating, we call it as 150th anniversary of establishment also. And this IMD is considered to be the one of the oldest organization, or one of the oldest scientific organization in India. One of the scientific and one of the oldest scientific organization. One of the oldest and scientific organization also, boss. Exactly on, exactly yes. Weather forecasting, Ministry of Earth Sciences, exactly yes. Done. Yes, it's in New Delhi. Now at least basics you should know. Now if it is clear, solve this question about artificial seeding or cloud seeding part. Fast online. Exactly yes. Exactly Rekha Gupta. The third one Sushma Swaraj first. Second one Atishi. It has been given a special status under 69th one, and you should know about the law. It is land, law and order. The land comes under which control in Delhi? It is comes under central government, but comes under central government, not under the state. Now what's the exception with respect to how many members can become ministers in Delhi? How many members or how much percentage? 10%. Only 6 can become members. 6 can become ministers. The house is 60. 10%. Now what about other states? What about other states? Other states 15%. Other states and union, it is 15% under 91st Constitutional Amendment Act of 2003. That you should know. And what's the controversy between the Governor of Delhi and the CM of Delhi? That you should know. Now there is no controversy because the Lieutenant Governor is also from the same party, and we call it as the center and the state, the UT is also same party. There is no conflict. If there is an opposition party, automatically the conflict arises between the CM of Delhi and we call it as the Lieutenant Governor. That you should know. Yes. What's the answer for this? Okay. How many of the above statements are incorrect? First one, consider following statement about cloud seeding in Delhi. We are specifically talking about the cloud seeding of Delhi. Cloud seeding is a process of spreading aluminum hydroxide. It is no. I said that silver iodide, potassium iodide and dry ice. In the other case, first one is we call it as incorrect. Second one in 2025, Delhi cloud seeding where I can say were conducted by Delhi government in collaboration. We call it as IIT Kanpur and New Delhi. This is correct. And the third one, cloud seeding. It is cloud seeding can be carried out under clear sky. Clear sky, no boss. It is this question I have integrated both about the geography part, the basic part, and the current affairs also. That you should know. Science Center one option, second one we call it as current affairs, and the third option we call again geography. Now with respect to clear sky, can we do it? No. Now which one is incorrect? It is, how many are incorrect? Now only two are incorrect. Second option is correct. We have discussed about IMD also. IMD and it is the Kanpur. Be cautious. They'll replace it with Kharagpur. It's not Kharagpur also. It is Kanpur, IIT Kanpur. Now where is Kanpur? It's in UP. You should know locations. When you don't know the location, automatically it becomes easier when you solve the MCQs also. Done? This is about our, it is cloud seeding or artificial, the cloud seeding or artificial rain concept also. Yes. Now across India, the artificial rain seeding concept is one of the failure missions. We could not able to achieve it is the desired objectives. It was a failure. But if it is in Delhi, can we achieve? In situation, we need to. It is wait and watch. Will it be a success or will it be a failure? Yes. That's again with respect to. It's a win-win situation. And the next one we call it as Gyan Bharat, or I can say Baratam mission. Now Gyan Baratam mission. Now why this Gyan Baratam mission was in news? Recently some 20 organizations have signed a deal with Ministry of Culture to conserve and protect what? Manuscript. To conserve and protect manuscript. Now before discussing about these things, shall I ask you a simple question? Now what are manuscripts? Exactly, it is digitizing unorganized literature. That we call it as manuscript. First one, fine, it is you guys have answered. Second one is, sir, minimum how much years old it should be? At least how many years old we are going for digitization? Are we going for manuscripts which has been created yesterday? Or are we going for creation of manuscripts after a particular time period? What do you think? It is for manuscripts, at least 70 years of history must be there. At least 70 years. Now we'll see that one by one. Now first one, sir, now why we need to protect and conserve this manuscripts? Is it important? Is it seriously important? What do you think? Is it seriously important? Why? Now first one we call it as news. Why this was in news? Now recently in this week, 20 institutes at China, 20 institutes have signed an agreement with, we call it as Ministry of Culture, to protect, conserve, digitize, modernize, promote. Which one? Manuscripts. 20 institutes have signed, we call it as agreement. That you should know. First one. This is news. Now coming to second one, when was this mission, Gyan Baratam mission has been announced? When we have launched this? It has been launched in this year's union budget. This year's union budget, we call it as in which year? In the year 2025. In the year 2025 comes under which ministry? Comes under, we call it as Ministry of Culture. Ministry of Culture. Done. Second. Third one, sir, what is the objective of this Gyan Baratam mission? What's the objective? What is the objective? Objective here is digitization. Be cautious. First one, we are going for digitization, modernization, protection, conservation, followed by we call it as promotion. Of all this is being done with respect to which one? Manuscripts, which should have a history of at least how many years? At least 70 years. Which should have at least 70 years. Now if I want to do this, now there must be some implementing partners at the local level. Now how many implementing partners will be joined as a part of, we call it as, or will be added to this Gyan Baratam mission? How many institutes will be added? Now as an implementing partners, it is how many institutes? 50 institutes will be added. Now out of that, in first phase, how many has been joined? 20 has been joined. Now in the second phase, some 30 will be joined later on. 30 will be joined later on. Yes. Sir, my question is, now which all manuscripts will be modernized? Which all manuscripts will be modernized? Now which all? The first one we call it as which all things? It is leaf manuscript, copper plated manuscripts, followed by that we call it as paper manuscripts. Now it can be anything. It can be anything. All the manuscripts will be digitized under a portal called as, which one? It is Gyan Baratam portal, or we call it as national, digitization of manuscript portal. Will be modernized under where? National Digital Manuscript Portal. Promote outside India also. To promote outside India also. Now how many have been joined as of now? It is 20 has been joined. 20 has been joined. Under that, which includes Asiatic Society of Kolkata. Out of that, the most prominent one we call it as Asiatic Society of Kolkata has joined. And second one, Kolkata has been joined. And University of Srinagar has been joined. University of which one? Srinagar has been joined. And third one, Hindi Bhasha, the Samhiti. It is Hindi Bhasha Society or Samhiti has been joined from Prayagraj. Oriental Society of Chennai has been joined. Oriental Society of Chennai has been joined. Now out of this 20, majority is this. Now 20 has been joined, and in the next phase, how many will be joined? 30 will be joined in the next phase. Majorly to conserve what? Majorly to conserve the manuscript, modernize, digitization, innovation, and to promotion also. That should be having a history of how many years? At least 70 years. At least 70 years, such projects will be, or such manuscripts will be conserved for our future, for the protection of the diversity of our history, of our richness of our history. To promote which one? To promote, we call it as richness. Richness of which one? Richness of, we call it as history. To promote the richness of history. Yes, this is about, we call it as Gyan Baratam mission. We've talked about who launched this? Ministry of Culture as a part of Union Budget 2025. Third one, objective, we call it as digitization, modernization, protection, promotion. All these things will be done as a part of manuscript. And the fourth one, implementing partners will be 50. Out of that, as of now, 20 has been implemented, or 20 have joined, majorly Asia. And so second one we call it as, the major one called as the Hindi Bhasha. The Samiti of Prayagraj has been joined. has joined Allahabad. Third one we call it as Oriental Society of Chennai has been joined. The fourth one we call it as the University of Srinagar has been joined as the implementing partners of Gyan Baratam history of their local the manuscripts will be modernized and will be digitized also. Yes, done. This is about our major one. So yes, online. Again, Asiatic Society, which has been established in 1784 by William Johns in Kolkata again. William Johns in 1784. William Johns, exactly, yes. Exactly, Siam. Lakshmi, yes. Game changer, perfect. Yes. Okay. Now with respect to, we call it as Gyan Bharatam Mission, consider the following statements. It's a flagship initiative launched by which ministry? Ministry of Culture, to conserve, digitize and promote. It is Indian manuscript heritage. Now everything is correct except which one? Except ministry. If that is the case, complete option is wrong. Second one, it has the mission's core objective is to establish national digital repository to make manuscript accessible to scholars and public. Yes, the richness will be done here. And the third one we call it as, I hope you got the answer. Yes or no? The first one we call it as, if first one one wrong, it is 2 is correct. Done. Now why third option is wrong? I said that at least how many years old? 70 plus years old must be there. This you must know. B. 2 only. Done. Now next one we call it as National Blockchain Framework. Now why this National Blockchain Framework was in news? Now at least are you aware about what is blockchain? It is what is blockchain. Now who is considered to be the father of blockchain or cryptocurrency? It is Satoshi Nakamoto. Satoshi Nakamoto is considered to be the father of cryptocurrency or blockchain technology. Cryptocurrency works on what? Blockchain was. Now if I want to consider a particular technology as blockchain technology, it should meet at least 4 features. Now which is that? First one we call it as, it is organized in what format? Blocks. Organized in the form of, we call it as blocks, one after the other, one after the other, and this we call it as what? Blocks. Now how to create these blocks? How to create these blocks? Via mining of these blocks. Now how to mine this? Should we go for dredging or should we go for mining, literal mining? No. It is to create a block, we need to solve a complex mathematical problems. If we solve a complex mathematical problems, the blocks are being created. First one. Second feature here is, can we see this blockchain? Can we see this? Yes. Can we touch it? No. Nothing but this blockchain is completely what? Virtual or digital. Second one, this blockchain is completely virtual or digital. Second. Third one. Now do we have centralized regulator for blockchain or there is no centralized regulator like RBI? There is no centralized regulator. One who is interested to solve or one who has a capacity to solve intense mathematical problems, I can create blockchain. Nothing but there is no central regulator. that we call it as decentralized regulator. Highly and highly important one. Decentralized regulator. Third one. Fourth one we call it as now is this blockchain. Is it transparent or is it opaque? It is highly transparent. One who are present in this block. It is completely transparent, boss. Completely we call it as transparent. Completely transparent, and that we call it as blockchain technology. Now sir, now is this blockchain technology, can we hack it? Can we hack this blockchain technology? Yes, we can hack it, but to some extent it is safe, but we cannot say that it is completely non-hackable. We can hack, but hacking is highly difficult. Hacking is highly difficult, and that technology we call it as what technology? Blockchain technology. Now which is the applications we have established by using a blockchain technology? It is, now we have established applications of blockchain technology. Applications of blockchain technology, there are three applications. One we call it as establishment of, establishment, there are a number of applications, but as of now we are using majorly as a part three. One we call it as for establishment of currency. Establishment of the currency, and that currency we call it as what? It is, that currency we call it as cryptocurrency. First one. Second one, by using this blockchain technology, we are able to, it is safe and secure, the different documents, the literature, art forms, video, audio, all those things. Now that application we call it as what? NFT. Non-fungible tokens. Non-fungible tokens, we can protect our different data via non-fungible tokens. Second. Third one, now third one recently was in use. We call it as, we have also established a coin called as which coin? Stable coin also. Yes. Now shall we see? Now what is the currency called as? Currency called as cryptocurrency, boss. Cryptocurrency. Now that cryptocurrency example which includes bitcoins, Ethereum, examples of bitcoins which has been developed by using which technology? Blockchain technology, and that we call it as the bitcoins, followed by Ethereum, bitcoins, Ethereum, bitcoins, Ethereum, all this comes under cryptocurrency. Now is this bitcoins, is it less volatile or high volatile? Highly volatile, boss. Now how to make this highly volatile? How to make this highly volatile? It is a safe, the currency. Now peg this cryptocurrency with some form of currency. Peg this cryptocurrency with what? It is equate. Pegging means equating. Equating cryptocurrency with some form of currency. Now it is peg it with, we call it as dollar. Peg it with gold. Now if I am pegging it with dollar gold, don't you think this cryptocurrency becomes, it is to some extent non-volatile or stable? And such coins are called as what? Stable coins. Such coins are called as stable coins. Stable coins means cryptocurrencies are being pegged with what? Pegged with some form of currency. That we call it as stable coins. Now third one, what is NFT? Non-fungible tokens. What is non-fungible? Now non-fungible means which cannot be divided. Which cannot be divided, but can it be shared? Can it be transferred? Yes, boss. But my simple question is, for storing up of data in a safe and secure manner, for sharing up of data safe and secure manner, sir, which all things are being stored? Which includes audio, which includes videos, which includes photos, which includes land documents, which includes my property documents. All this can be stored, boss. But is it safe and secure? Yes. But can I divide this data? No. Can I transfer this from one owner to other? Yes. Now can owner be n number of things or unique owner? It is unique owners. Unique owners, be cautious. It is cannot be divided. Non-fungible means cannot be divided. Can it be transferred? Yes or no? It is I can transfer. My audio can be transferred. My videos can be transferred, and that we got is what? NFT. It is transferable. It is transferable, and that we call it as NFT. Now a simple question is, which committee has been established in India to study about cryptocurrency in India? Which committee? Subhash Garg Committee. Subhash Garg Committee has been established in India. Subhash Garg Committee has been established. Subhash Garg Committee has been established in, we call it as India. Subhash Garg Committee. And which is the currency which is being established by? It is established by RBI by using, we call it as blockchain technology. CBDC. What is CBDC? Central Bank Digital Currency. Central Bank Digital Currency. Now, is the central bank digital currency, is it centralized regulator or decentralized? Centralized regulator, regulated by RBI. Be cautious. Except this, this has been modified. This has been converted. Centralized regulator. Now regulator we call it as RBI. That we call it as CBDC. Example, e-Rupee. e-Rupee works on CBDC. Central Bank Digital Currency. Central Bank Digital Currency. I hope you guys are getting it. Yes. This is about the basics. It has which one? Basics about, we call it as blockchain technology and applications. Now don't you think we need to regulate this blockchain? Now to regulate this blockchain, we came out with what? We came out with National Blockchain Framework. Now we came out with, we call it as National Blockchain Framework. We came out with, we call it as National Blockchain Framework. Now this National Blockchain Framework has been launched by which ministry? Has been launched by which ministry first? Has been launched by MeitY. Has been launched by, we call it as MeitY. What do you know MeitY means? Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology. Electronics and Information Technology. First one. Second one, this NBF has been launched in which year? Launched in which year? In the year we call it as 2024. That is last year. This has been launched in the year 2024. What is about, or what is third one? What is third one talks about here? Objectives. Now what's the objective of NBF? What's the objective of NBF here? Now objective here is, it is now majorly what we need to do with respect to blockchain technology. Now with respect to blockchain technology, we need to promote, we need to increase the innovation, we need to bring in transparency, efficiency, sustainability, controlling, regulation. All these things. Now it will be done by which ministry? MeitY. Done by MeitY. Majorly, it is, we call it as, it is promotion, innovation, transparency, efficiency, productivity, simpleness, now control and regulation also. Now in which sector? Blockchain sector, or we call it as blockchain, the technologies. Blockchain technologies. Now to do all those things, now the ministry has established four important components. Now which is that four important components which has been established by the ministry? Which is that four components? The four components. Now the first component we call it as the NBF backbone. We call it as the Vishwasya blockchain stack. We call it as the Vishwasya blockchain stack. Now what does blockchain stack talk about? Building of a backbone called as infrastructure to it is blockchain. It is backbone or building infrastructure, ready infrastructure for which one? Blockchain technology. First one. Second one talks about NBF Lite has been established. Second component we call it as NBF Lite. Now what do you mean by NBF Lite? What do you mean by NBF Lite? Now NBF Lite talks about promotion of youths, encouraging the startups to take up which technology as their innovation? Blockchain technology to innovate and to encourage it has technologies also. NBF Lite majorly talks about what? Majorly talks about encouraging the youth, encouraging majorly the startups to work with respect to blockchain technology. Second, yes or no? The third input or the third component here is, we call it as the Pramanik. The third component we call it as Pramanik. What do you mean by Pramanik? What do you mean by Pramanik, boss? Now Pramanik means it is establishment of verification of blockchain technology. After verification and release to a Play Store. Release to a Play Store, and that we call it as the Pramanik, verification, transparency in blockchain technology. And the last one we call it as the centralized portal for NBF, and that we call it as NBF portal has been established. NBF we call it as the portal has been established. Now to deal with respect to disputes, to deal with respect to the issues, to deal with respect to policy making, to deal with respect to any other issues is being dealt by, we call it as NBF portal, that is National Blockchain Framework, the portal. Now with respect to this, I've said only majorly we call it as some 4 points. One, we call it as when it has been established. NBF has been established in the year 2024. By which ministry? Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology. The third one was the objectives. The objectives here is, it is majorly for encouraging blockchain technology, to bring in transparency, efficiency and productivity in blockchain technology. The fourth one, to achieve this, we have established 4 components. One, we call it or the infrastructure backbone, that we call it as Vishwasya blockchain network has been established. Second one, we call it as NBF Lite, to encourage startups to work in blockchain technology. Third one, it is Pramanik, the verification code, it is tick mark Baratam. It is verification before it is introducing it into Play Store. And the fourth one we call it what? The fourth one we call it as centralized portal has been established, and that we call it as NBF portal has also been established by the meeting. Along with the things we have talked about, it is blockchain technology, we have talked about the stable coins which was in use. which was the news in the last month. Stable coin. Second one we have talked about CBDC, central bank digital currency. It is e-rupee. Followed by that non-fungible tokens. Followed by that we call it as the cryptocurrencies also. Done. This is about the blockchain technology. This fast. Exactly, recently Madras court has also been declared act, we call it as cryptocurrency as what? Property. That you should know. Exactly, recently Japan also stable coins, world first to do that, yes. NFT, perfect, cryptocurrency done, yes. I hope you guys are getting it. Exactly, yes. Done? Okay, now with respect to National Blockchain Framework, consider the following statement. NBF, the Reserve Bank of India in September 2024 to promote we call it as promote blockchain adoption in banking sector. See, RBI's role is, it is majorly to, it is establish something, not to regulate something. Hope it is accept money. RBI's role is not to regulate anything. First one is wrong. If the first one is wrong, observe now, one wrong, 2 and 3. But we'll see second and third. The Vishwasa blockchain stack, a core platform, backbone of NBF. Backbone of NBF is an indigenous modular system, offers blockchain as a service to the government departments. Second. Third one, NBF Lite, which provides a sandbox for startups and innovators to test and validate, we call it as blockchain prototypes. Completely correct. It is 2 and 3 are correct, and answer is B only. Answer is B. Done. Now the next one we call it as PM SVANidhi Scheme. Now recently, high-level panel, the high-level review committee has been chaired by, we call it as Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs. Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs to review, we call it as, to review the, which one? To review PM SVANidhi. Now what is PM SVANidhi? PM means Pradhan Mantri, SVANidhi means street vendor. Street vendor, Atma Nirbhar Nidhi. Atma Nirbhar. PM SVANidhi means street vendor, Atma Nirbhar. SVANidhi means street vendor, Atma Nirbhar Nidhi. Yes. Now first one, news is clear. Now news is recently high-level panel headed by the Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs. That you should know. Now my first and foremost question here is, it comes under which ministry? It comes under which ministry, boss? Same ministry. Ministry of, we call it as the housing, and we call it as what? Housing and Urban Affairs. Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs first. Second one, it has been launched in which year? Launched in 2020 during COVID times as a part of Atma Nirbhar package. As a part of, we call it as Atma Nirbhar package. Yes. Second one. Third one, sir. What is the objective, sir? What are the objectives? Smaller micro credits are being provided. Micro credits are being provided to whom? Street vendors. One who are in streets, one who are majorly, it is one on streets and vending. Now for them, micro loans are being provided. Up till how much? It is up till, we call it as, perfect. It is the micro loans are being provided. Micro loans are being provided up till 50,000 rupees as a loan. Up till 50,000 rupees as a loan. My simple question is, now if it is loan, automatically along with Housing and Urban Affairs, which ministry must also be there? Ministry of Finance. Supported by Department of, we call it as Financial Services. Department of Financial Services. Done? Second. Third one is this 50,000 rupees. Is it provided in one go? 3 different installments. In 3 different installments. Second is, should we need to provide collateral to get this loan? Yes or no? There is no collateral required. If there is no collateral, such type of loans are called as unsecured loans. Unsecured loans. Now that unsecured loans are being implemented by, be cautious, if it is micro loans, who will be the implementing partner here? Implementing partner will be SIDB. Implementing partner will be what? SIDB. Implementing partners, we call it as SIDB. Exactly online, implementing partners, SIDB. Here, it is small industries or small IDBI. Small Industries Development Bank of India, small IDBI. Small IDBI. Done. Now it is given in 3 installments. 3 installments initially 15,000. If you repay it, 25,000 rupees second installment. If you repay it, what will the third installment? 50,000 rupees. I hope it is clear. It is given in 3 equal installments. After repayment, first will be 15, later will be, we call it as the 25, 50,000 rupees at max. Now should we need to provide collateral or not? It is no collateral. Thus PM SVANidhi. Now we'll discuss about basics also. And that basics we call it as. Majorly we call it as, should we need to provide collateral here? Now collateral, no collateral required. Collateral means security. Now there is no security, unsecured loans. Unsecured loans. Yes or no? They are called as which loans? Unsecured loans. They are called as unsecured loans. First one. Second one, sir. Now what type of scheme is this? Is it central sector scheme? Is it centrally sponsored scheme? Central sector means 100% funded by center. If it is sharing between center and state, we call it as centrally sponsored scheme. Sharing can be 50-50, 60-40, 70-30, 90-10 or 80-20 also. Any possibility is there, but what type of scheme is this? It is central sector scheme, 100% funded by the central government. Second one, what type of scheme is this? 100% funded by center, and that we call it as central sector scheme. Finances, 100% finances is done by, we call it as central government. 100% is being done by central government. Done. Now along with the things, now one would diligently repay. Now for them there is a interest discount also. Interest discount, one who pay the loan diligently, and that we call it as interest subvention scheme. That interest discount we call it as what? Interest subvention scheme. Subvention. Along with that things, RuPay cards are also being provided. For them, RuPay cards are also being provided with free of cost. Free of the cost. This we call it as PM Street Vendors Atma Nirbhar Nidhi. Atma Nirbhar Nidhi. Atma Nirbhar Nidhi. Done. Now little bit basics. Now which is the scheme we have to provide micro loans to the industrial sector? We call it as PM Mudra. Now PM Vishwakarma is for artisans. Artisans, now majorly we call it as PM Mudra. PM Mudra. What does Mudra means? What is Mudra? Pradhan Mantri Micro Undertakings Development Refinancing Agency. Development Refinance Agency. Now when was this Mudra Yojana launched? Now this Mudra Yojana has been launched in 2015. It has been launched in the year 2015. By which ministry? Ministry of Finance. Ministry of Finance. By Ministry of Finance, Nirmala Sitharaman's office. Now the third major important one, in the year 2016, we have launched the Stand Up India scheme. We have launched Stand Up India scheme. In 15, Stand Up India, followed by, we call it as Mudra has also been launched. And third one, what's the objective? Now if we say the objective, of the game. Objectives. I don't ask you classification. I said objectives. These loans are being provided to whom? Pakka? It is provided to non-corporate, non-agriculture sector. It is provided to non-corporate. It is objective here is the loans are being provided to whom? They must be non-agriculture. They should not be involved in agriculture sector, and they should not be corporates also. It is non-agriculture sector and non-corporate sector. Nothing but MSMEs. Majorly to industrial sector and services sector. Majorly to industrial sector, and we call it as the MSME sector. Exactly, yes. The next one, what are the different classifications we have? Now what is the limit under PM Mudra we can get a loan? Up till 20 lakh rupees. Up till 20 lakh rupees. Shishu, Kishore, the Tarun. Now recent Tarun Plus has been added last year. Tarun Plus has been added last year in the last year's union budget. Last year Tarun Plus. Now the simple question is, Shishu means loans will be given up till 50,000 rupees. Up till 50,000 rupees. Now up till 5 lakh rupees is Kishore. Up till 10 lakh rupees is Tarun. Up till 12 lakh rupees is what? Tarun plus category. Tarun plus category. Again in Mudra, should we need to provide collateral? No collateral. Implemented by again SIDB. No collateral means what type of loan is this? Unsecured loan. Now again last implemented by SIDB. Implemented by Small Industries Development Bank of India. Small Industries Development Bank of India. Yes, this is about our PM Mudra Yojana. PM Mudra Yojana. Yes. Now along with the things you should know about SIDB. What is SIDB? Small Industries Development Bank of India. When it is established in the year 1990 under the act called as SIDBI Act of 1989. Under the act called as SIDBI Act of 1989, where is the headquarters? Lucknow. Headquarters is in Lucknow. Now MSMEs are higher in where? Lucknow. Now the SIDBI is owned by whom? IDBI. Private organization or a private bank called as IDBI. Private bank called as IDBI is the owner of SIDBI now. It has been privatized in 2019. It has been privatized in the year 2019. You should know that also. You should know that also. Exactly. Yes. Headquarters is in Lucknow. Headquarters is in Lucknow. Yes, done. This is all about, we call it as the SVANidhi. Solve this. Online fast. Exactly. IDBI 1964, it has been established under RBI and it has been brought under government in the year 1976 and it has been privatized in the year 2019. That you should know. That also you should know. It is IDBI. Anyways, you would have studied about IDBI. It's a developmental bank which provides loans to the industrial sector. Exactly, yes. Now UP constitutes the largest, we call it as population according to 2011 census. Now which state is the largest producer of sugar cane? Again UP. Which state? Now which state has the highest number of Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha? Again UP. Yes or? See, when you know such smaller things, automatically you should keep on remembering all those things. Then even the factors becomes easier. Yes. Now coming to this question, now be cautious, always and always my concern is this. Is it correct or incorrect? Now if you know this, PM street vendors or the SVANidhi scheme kinds of following statement, the ministries normally, even in any exam, the ministries will be normally wrong. 99% will be wrong, and that's the reason I'm adding the ministry also. Ministry of Rural Development is not a Ministry of Rural Development, rather it is which ministry? Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs to provide working capital loans to the street vendors. Everything is correct except ministry. The complete option is wrong. Second one, the restructure scheme introduces, already I said that UPI linked RuPay cards also. It is credit card to provide access to the vendors. Up to how many rupees? 50,000 rupees. Under the revised scheme, the maximum loan amount is being capped at, we call it as 10,000. Initially it was 10,000 rupees. Now it has been increased to 50,000 rupees in 3, or I can say installments, which includes 15,000 rupees, 25,000 rupees, and in third installments we call it as what? It is 50,000 rupees. And they also encouraging of digital payments. Now if you go for digital payments, every month up till 100 rupees incentive is also being provided. Every month 100 rupees is being provided if you go for what? The UPI transactions. Along with that things, they're also talking about it is hygienic and healthy food should also be developed. They're also talking about hygienic and health food also. Healthy food also should be provided at the streets also. At the streets. Yes. Yes or no? This you should know. Again, now which one is incorrect? It is 1 and 3 are incorrect. 1 and 3 are incorrect. When you know the concept, automatically everything becomes easier. PM street vendors Atmanirbhar Nidhi. Atmanirbhar Nidhi. Next topic we call it as the Timor-Leste. Why Timor-Leste was in use? Now recently ASEAN meeting. Which is that ASEAN meeting? The 47th ASEAN meeting. Now 47th ASEAN meeting. Now which took place at where? It is Kuala Lumpur. Where is it? Malaysia. It is 47th meeting of Malaysia. It's in Malaysia, which has been the new country which has been added, that new country we call it as 11th country to the ASEAN. Now which is that 11th country? 11th country we call it as Timor-Leste. Be cautious. Now in this ASEAN meeting which held in the Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, now 11th country has been added. Now that 11th country we call it as Timor-Leste. Timor-Leste, or it is called as East Timor. It's called as East Timor. Now this has been added after a period of more than 25 years. More than 25 years, this 11th country has been added after, we call it as, to be precise, is after 28 years. After 28 years, this Timor-Leste has been added. Now while discussing about this topic, we'll talk about what is, I can say, little bit topic about the Southeast Asia, ASEAN. We will talk about Timor-Leste also. Yes or no? Now my first question is, what is Timor-Leste? Mapping. First one, mapping. Now first one, what is the location of Timor-Leste? Now what is the location of Timor-Leste? Now what is the location, boss? Southeast Asia. And it is also an island country. It is also an island country. First one is Southeast Asia. It is also what? Island country. It is also, we call it as island country. Second one. The third question here is, now this Timor-Leste, it is surrounded by which all countries? Surrounded by majorly. Towards the south is Australia. Towards the south we call it as Australia. Towards the south, or towards the west. Towards the south is Australia. Towards the west we call it as the Timor, or we call it as Indonesia. Or we call it as Indonesia. Yes. Third one. What is the capital? What's the capital of, we call it as Timor-Leste? What's the capital of Timor-Leste? Capital is Dili. D-I-L-I. It's not Delhi, it is Dili. It is, the capital is Dili. Now the fourth one, sir, now what is the uniqueness about this East Timor or Timor-Leste? What is the uniqueness? Now initially this Timor-Leste has been ruled by which all countries? Now during 1950s, it was ruled by Portuguese. It was ruled by or controlled by Portuguese, and after when Portuguese left the country, it was controlled and captured by Indonesia. It was captured and controlled by Indonesia, and it got independence recently in the year 2002. Now one of the oldest country to get independence recently, we call it as what? We call it as one of the oldest, or one of the recent one to get the independence, we call it as East Timor. In which country? It is East Timor in which year? In the year 2002. That you should know. The recent and the youngest one to get a republic. Youngest one to get a republic, we call it as East Timor. Now what is the climatic condition of this? We call it as East Timor. What is the climatic condition we have? The climatic condition we call it as dry tropical climate. Be cautious, it's not wet evergreen. It is dry tropical climate. Now which is the climate we have? We call it as dry climatic condition. We call it as dry climatic. Dry climatic condition is the climate of, we call it as climate of East Timor. Now with this East Timor has been added as which one? The 11th one which has been added as, it is the 11th country to ASEAN. 11th country to, we call it as ASEAN. Now shall we see a little bit about ASEAN? Now what is ASEAN? First one, what is ASEAN? Association of Southeast Asian Nation. Association of Southeast Asian Nation. Exactly, on an exactly perfect, yes. Following. Association of Southeast Asian Nation. First one is abbreviation. First one we call it as abbreviation. First one we call it as abbreviation. First one we call it as abbreviation. Now what's the abbreviation here? What is the abbreviation here? Now abbreviation here is, we call it as the ASEAN Association of, we call it as the Association of Southeast Asian Nations. First one done. Second one, the second one abbreviation. Second one, when the ASEAN has been formed. When this ASEAN has been formed? In the year 1967. Via which declaration? Bangkok Declaration. Via, it has been formed in the year 1967. Via we call it as which one? Via Bangkok Declaration. Via Bangkok Declaration. Second one. Third one, where is the headquarters? Where is headquarters? Headquarters, it's in Jakarta. Where is Jakarta? Indonesia. Jakarta, it's in Indonesia. Jakarta, it's in Indonesia. The fourth and the most important one here is, sir, which all countries were the founding members and how many countries are a part of now? Now, which all countries comes under founding members? Which all countries comes under, we call it as founding members of ASEAN. Now founding members includes which all things? Includes Malaysia, Singapore, Indonesia, and we call it as Philippines. These 5 countries are called as what? Founding members of ASEAN. Founding members of ASEAN. Which one is the? It is added later on. Added later on we call it as. Added later on we call it as. Added later on we call it as Myanmar. Followed by it is Laos, Vietnam, Brunei. Now before two we call it as this East Timor. Which is the country which has added? Cambodia. Which is the one which has been added? Cambodia. And now it is East Timor. East Timor. Now major one here is, now India is a dialogue partner. Obviously India is not a part of Southeast Asia. India is not a part of Southeast Asia. My simple question is, what is the objective of ASEAN? What's the objective? Now objective here is economic and political union. Economic and political union. Now it has been ranked the third. It is ranked third after European Union. After North American Free Trade Agreement. The third one is what? ASEAN. The third largest economic union, we call it as what? Economic union, we call it as ASEAN. The third one we call it as ASEAN, Association of Southeast Asian Nation. Association of, we call it as Southeast Asian Nations. Is India part of this? No, it is. India is not a part of, we call it as ASEAN. India is not a part of, we call it as ASEAN. India is not a part of ASEAN. Done. Now this is about, or this is all about our, we call it as, it is the next topic called as, it is about East Timor or Timor-Leste, 11th organization, 7th, we call it as, which held in Kuala Lumpur ASEAN meetings, and we call it as about ASEAN topics. Done. Now shall we solve the question now? Now shall we solve the question? Fast online. East Timor is 11th. 11th is East Timor. Be cautious. Yes. Now coming to this question. Now with reference to East Timor and ASEAN, consider the following statements. Now East Timor became the, now which member? 11th member of ASEAN in which year? 2025, making organization first expansion since 1997 to be precise. But answer is wrong. Why answer? It is 11th one. Second one, the last country to join ASEAN before to East Timor, I said, which one? Cambodia. In which year? 1997. Third one, again second is also wrong. Third one, we call it as East Timor was colonized by Portugal earlier, I said, and later on it has been captured by Indonesia, and it got independence in the year 2022. And which is it is the recent, the republic, one of the recent republics is East Timor in the year 2002. And they're asking which of the following is correct? No, it has, which one is correct? Only one is correct. Perfect. Yes, sir. Online, I hope it is clear. Offline, it's also clear. Done. Now this is about, we call it as the ASEAN, and about the recent summit, we call it which one? The recent summit, we call it as the ASEAN part. Next one we call it as, MAHE. We call it as INS MAHE. What is INS? It is, we call it as Indian Naval System MAHE. Now what is this MAHE? Now MAHE, it's a Portugal territory. The Portuguese has 4 important territories, boss. Now Portuguese has 4 important territories in 3 states. 4 important territories in how many states? 4 important territories in, we call it as 3 states. 1 in Kerala, and second in, it is Tamil Nadu, and third one we call it as what? Andhra Pradesh. Now which is the territory which is present in, we call it as Kerala? Which is the territory which is present in Kerala? We call it as MAHE. MAHE. Done. And the second one we call it as, we have 2 important territories. One we call it as Pondicherry. One as Pondicherry or Puducherry, and third one we call it as Karaikal. Karaikal, it's present in where? Now this 2 is present in Tamil Nadu, and one we call it as, it is present in where? Andhra, which is that? Yanam. Now all these 4 territories belongs to, we call it as Puducherry or Pondicherry. Yes or no? Puducherry or Pondicherry. Now this Puducherry or Pondicherry, it was ruled by, now which country? It is ruled by France. Ruled by the France or French. Now when it got liberalized, it has been declared as Union Territory. Now based on the name of MAHE, it is Cochin Shipyard. Cochin Shipyard has developed first we call it as anti-submarine. We call it as first anti-submarine. Out of 8, now out of 8, which is the first one which has been developed? We call it as INS MAHE. We call it as India's first anti-submarine warfare craft. What does shallow water means? It works at a lower depth. Shallow means lower depth. It works at lower depth and it is considered as what? Anti-submarine. 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 Yes or no? Anti-submarine. Now coming to this, we call it as, coming to this majorly, coming to the INS Mahe. This INS Mahe, it is developed by which ministry? Ministry of Defense. It is developed by, we call it as Ministry of Defense. Under Ministry of Defense, which organization? Cochin Shipyard Limited. Cochin Shipyard Limited. Cochin Shipyard Limited, it's a Mini Ratna company. Mini Ratna company. Recently, a Mini Ratna status has been given to which organization? Recently, Mini Ratna status has been given to which defense organization? No, boss. It is Hindustan Shipyard Limited. Hindustan Shipyard Limited has got a Mini Ratna status. But Cochin Shipyard Limited is again it is Mini Ratna status and a Ministry of Defense. It is present in Cochin. Cochin Shipyard Limited. Now who is developing this? Who is developing this? We call it as, it is who is developing this? We call it as, it is we call it as submarine ship. That is Cochin Shipyard. Now how many are developing? It is 8. Now out of this is the first one. The first one is INS Mahe. First one we call it as INS Mahe. Now my simple question is, sir, my simple question is, now why we want this INS Mahe? Now majorly this will be provided to the Navy, now to protect our coast. Now this will be provided to, we call it as Navy. Now to protect our, how many kilometers of our coast? It is 7,500 kilometers of India's coastline. 7,500 kilometers of Indian coastline. Yes. Now little bit factuals. Now what are the factuals here? Now what type of engine is this? What type of engine? Diesel run engine. It's not nuclear based submarine. It is a diesel based engine. And second one, 80% made in India, indigenous products. Atmanirbharata also. 80% of the products which are being developed in where? Developed in India. Developed in, we call it as India. Developed in India, and that we call it as indigenous defense equipment has been developed by Cochin Shipyard Limited, Mini Ratna status, Government of India, Ministry of Defense. They have developed India's first out of 8 the submarine warfare, majorly we call it as shallow water craft has been established. Shallow water craft has been established which has the capacity to carry 1,500 tons. Which has the capacity to carry 1,500 tons majorly. Majorly, it is the majorly best, thank you. Yes, okay. It is majorly, which has a capacity to carry 1,500, it is kgs or the tons of its weight it can carry. And this we call it as, what? It is anti-submarine warfare, it is shallow water ship. Now out of 8, the first one has been ready and this has been given to whom? The Navy. This has been given to Navy and they will be increasing or again that will be used for encouraging safety and security across the coast of India. Across the coast of India. Yes, boss. Shall we see some basics? Done. Now some basics we call it as some basics. Now how many states as a coastline? First I want answer. How many states as a coastline? 9. 9 states are the coastline. Out of that, which one has the longer and which one has smaller? How many states? The first one we call it as, now 9 states are the coastline. 9 states are the coastline. How many states are landlocked? How many states are landlocked, doesn't have coast? 28 minus 9. Yes or no? We'll get the answer. The second one, second major important one, which state has the highest coastline? The highest coastline is Gujarat and the lowest coastline is Goa. Lowest coastline is Goa. Across this coast, how many major ports have been established? 13 major ports. The 13th major port which has been established recently, Vadavan port. 13th major port we call it as Vadavan port. The project has been, or the bid has been won by Adani Group. Now it is present in where? Maharashtra. It is present in Maharashtra. Once completed, it will be the deepest port in India. Once completed, it will be deepest port in India. Now, the fourth question is, according to recent data, which port is handling the major amount of goods? Major amount of goods. Paradip. Paradip has replaced JNPT port. Paradip is handling the highest amount of goods for the year 2024-25. 24-25. And next one, the recent cyclone, Cyclone Monta. Cyclone Monta has hit which coast? Cyclone Monta. Cyclone Monta. Now the cyclone name has been given by which country? Thailand. Now which is hitting which coast? It is Andhra and Odisha. This is the first cyclone in 2025. First cyclone in 2025. Which means fragrant flower. Monta means fragrant flower. Monta, you should know that. And fifth one, 70% of international trade. 70% of international trade. Which one? Taking place via coastal waterways. 70% of volume, or the 70% of value and 90% of the volume is being taken place via coastal. 70% of international trade is being taken place via coastal waters. Coastal waters. Yes, this you should know. And second one, which is the different submarine classes we have in India. It is now, which is a project that is called as 75. Project 75. Project is 75. Now, which is the project we have related to submarines? That we call it as Project 75 and Project 75I. What's I? Indigenous. I we call it as indigenous. And second one, under this Project 75, we have two important classes. One we call it as Scorpion class, and second one we call it as Ariant class. First one we call it as Scorpion class, and second one we call it as Ariant class. Now Scorpion class, how many scorpions we are developing here? 6 scorpions. With the help of which country? Which country? France. Developed by Mazgon Dock Limited, Mumbai. Be cautious. 6 scorpions It is the Kalveri class, Karinj class, Vela class, Wagir, Wakshir. All these are the 6 the submarines which has been developed with the help of whom? The France. With the help of Mazagon Dock Limited. It's in Mumbai. Mazagon Dock Limited, it's in where? It's in Mumbai. Mazagon Dock Limited, it's in Mumbai. It's in Mumbai. Done. And next one, Ariant class. It is indigenously developed. Sorry, it is indigenously developed. It is indigenously developed one. Indigenously developed one, and that indigenously developed one we call it as nuclear class of submarine. That is called as Ariant class. Ariant class we call it as nuclear submarine, boss. Nuclear submarine. Whereas the Scorpion class we call it as what? Diesel engine, like the Cochin shipyard one, like the anti-warfare shallow water submarine craft, like Cochin one, like INS Mahe, that is also diesel, but this is nuclear. But sir, now which one is good for it is submarine? What is submarine? A nuclear defense vehicle present in where? Water. Now which fuel in water for longer period of time? It is nuclear one can stay longer below water. If it is diesel, now they need to come once in a while to the surface to breathe and to release the carbon dioxide. Now if I come to what will the enemy aliens do or enemy missiles will do? They will hit the target and the missiles or the submarines will collapse. But can nuclear submarines can be developed with the support of some other countries? According to we call it as nuclear agreements? No. If you want to use nuclear agreements for civil, you can go for agreements. But if you are using nuclear materials for warfare, can I go for collaboration? No. According to NSD, Nuclear Supplier Group, according to NPT, you cannot go for an agreement. If you go for an agreement, that leads to sanctions from United Nations. That leads to what? Sanctions from United Nations, and that is the reason whatever the nuclear energy available, we are using it for defense rather than for civil. Now we have become the first state to announce establishment of SMR, small modular reactor. The Bihar. Bihar has become the first state to establish small modular reactor. Small modular reactor. Small modular reactor. Yes, done, Mayana. 2025 current affairs. Yes, everything is planned, but let's see. Dates ban takshana, it will be ready. See, content and everything is ready. Not an issue. Dates barely date bandid next day. It will be marathon session. But it is, if you want to be serious, at least some dates must be there. But not, if not also, it is, let's see, in the month of November, we can go for that also. Yes. Then it is the project 75, 75I. They have asked direct questions about 75, 75, all those things. Done. Now this you should know. Now if it is clear, now little bit about DRDO. In the last class we have discussed 58, Ministry of Defense, Defense Research and Development Organization, Ministry of Defense, 1958, headquarters, Delhi. Now which is the first project which has been announced by DRDO? Project Indigo. Be cautious. The most important project we call it as IGMDP, Integrated Guided Missile Development Program. It's also called as APJ Abdul Kalam Program. That also you should know. See, it is, you should revise. Current affairs is all about revising. If not, automatically you cannot recall it. Yes, obviously I'll do the class. I said everything is ready. It's as soon as the exam dates are announced, automatically we can go for a class. Yes, yes. Exactly, Rachna. Yes, thank you. Game changer, thank you. Yes. Yeah, Rafale was also in news. Now, in the last class, we have discussed about Rafale, 30, all those things. Yes, Vakshir, Wagir, Vela, all those comes under Scorpion class. Done? Now, what's the answer for this? Now, answer we call it Mahe. Now, recently inducted into Indian Navy. Consider the following statements. It's the first of the 8 anti-submarine warfare shallow water craft. Now, indigenously designed and built by. Is it Mazgon? Now, Mazgon Dock Shipyard Limited. They have developed which one? Scorpion class of submarines. This you should know. See, when you don't know the different projects, how can you eliminate such options? You cannot. It is, now I am discussing, you are able to recall. But if I add it at one go, the third one, the vessel is powered by, we call it as diesel engine water jet propulsion system, enhancing its maneuverability. And a shallow waters, second one is correct, first one is wrong, last one is incorrect. Now what's the answer for this? It is one only is incorrect. Yes, done. Now while discussing about water security, you should know about major one called as Sagar Doctrine. What is the policy of India we have? It is necklace of diamond. It is majorly, you should know about Sagar. What is Sagar? Security and growth across the region. Indian Ocean. Security and growth across the region. You should know about Mahasagar, maritime heads of Sagar. Maritime heads of Sagar. We'll see all those things. The third one you should know about BRI. What is BRI? Belt and Road Initiative of China. And next one you should know about string of pearls. String of pearls concept. String of pearls. You should know about to counter this. We have developed necklace of diamond. You should keep on revising all those things. Even if you know also, you should revise. Yes or no online? Exactly. Yes. Done. Exactly. Mahasagar, necklace of diamond. Perfect. Yes, yes. Done. The next one we call it as BIRC. BIRC 2025. Why this BIRC was in use? The last topic for the day. BIRC. What is BIRC? It is Bharat International, the Rice Conference. Bharat International Rice Conference will be held in where? Will be held in, we call it as New Delhi. Will be held in, we call it as New Delhi. Will be held in New Delhi. This is about our first one. The first one we call it as BIRC will be held in India. New Delhi. First. Second one, sir, what is this BIRC? It's an association. It's an association or a meetings of farmers, exporters, international organizations. It is a group of, we call it as group of farmers, FPOs. What do you mean FPOs? Farmer producer organizations, includes exporters, which include foreign countries, foreign organizations, consumers. All these personalities are being brought into what? Are being brought into a single platform, and that conference we call it as BIRC. We call it as the Bharat International Rice Conference. Done. We'll see the basics about rice also. We'll see the basics about rice also. Second one. The second one. Now, what is the target of conducting this BIRC? What is the target? Now target here is to make India the leader in rice. To make India the leader in which sector? Rice sector. To make India the leader with respect to, we call it as rice sector. To make India with respect to what? Leader. Now if I want to do a leader, or if I want to be a leader, now how can I be a leader? I need to increase the productivity. I need to increase the efficiency, sustainability. I need to increase the export also. If I want to be a leader in rice sector, I need to do which all things? I need to increase the productivity. I need to increase the sustainability of rice, and I need to increase the exportness also. Export also. Yes or no? Now to achieve this or to be a leader, now what is the target we have applied, or what is the target we are planning it? The target here is, now from rice sector we need to generate, it is majorly we call it as 1.8 lakh crore rupees. Now what's the target we have added? We need to generate 1.8 lakh crore rupees from the rice. Income we need to generate. And from export we need to generate 25,000 crore rupees. From rice we need to generate 25,000 crore rupees by which year? By 2047. On the eve of celebration of 100 years of Republic Day, or we call it as the 100 years of Independence Day. 100 years of Independence Day, that we call it as Vikasat Bharat 2047. Vikasat Bharat by 2047, we need to achieve which all targets? 1.8 lakh crores of rice, we call it as the income we need to generate. And second one, we need to export at least 25,000 crore rupees of export should take place. Yes or no? That is a target which has been added here. That is a target which has been added. Under this we call it as the rice conference, we call it as BIRC rice conference. Yes. Shall we discuss a little bit basics about rice? Now first one, what is rice? What is rice, boss? Which crop is this? Rice is a cereal and a staple crop. Rice is the cereal, and we call it as a staple crop. Rice is a cereal and a staple, the crops. Staple crop. Now, how much tons of rice is being produced every year? At least according to 2000, we call it as, according to we call it as 2025, how many million tons of rice is being produced? 150 million tons of rice is being produced. 150 million tons of, million metric tons of, we call it as, rice is being produced. And with respect to area, it is 28% of area, or 28% of India's geography. We are using it for what? Rice. 28%, nothing but 47, we call it as million hectares has been used for what? Cultivation of rice, which constitutes approximately percentage, 28%. Now sir, all the things are fine. Now if we are producing 150 million metric tons, India is being ranked as what? India is being ranked as second largest producer of rice after China. After China, which country is the largest producer? India is the largest producer. Second. Third one. Now, which country is the largest exporter of rice? India. India has been ranked first with respect to rice export. Rice export, we call it as India is the rank number 1 with respect exporting up of the rice, India. Now the fourth one we call it as, now does this rice comes under MSP? Rice under MSP or not? It is added under MSP, minimum support price also. Added under minimum support the price, minimum support price. Next one, where do we have? It is National Rice Research Institute. National Rice Research Institute, it's in Cuttack. National Rice Research Institute, it's in Cuttack. Where is Cuttack? Odisha. Where do we have International Rice Research Institutes for South Asia? It is South Asia's International Rice Research Institutes. It's in Varanasi, UP. Now, International Rice Research Institute, Manali, Philippines. International Rice Research Institute, it's present in Manali, Philippines. And South Asia's International Rice Research Institute, present in where? It is present in Varanasi, Uttar Pradesh. Yes or no? Yes. Now to cultivate 1 kg of rice, 3,000 to 5,000 liters of water is required. 3,000 water is required. Now within India, which state is the largest producer of rice? West Bengal. Within India, West Bengal is the largest producer, followed by which country? Sorry, followed by which state? UP. Done? Now this is all with respect to the today's class. Now before winding up, we'll solve the question and we'll wind up. Exactly. Thank you. Lakshmi, thank you. Done? Okay. Consider following statements regarding it is BIRC, Bharat International Rice Conference 2025. The Bharat Rice Conference will be held in, I said it's in New Delhi, to position India as a global leader in rice. Everything is correct except the location. Second one, it aims to achieve, it is 1.8 lakh crore rupees in rice market and includes participation from 80 countries and to achieve export of 25,000 crore rupees. We have seen that also. Which of the following is correct? Only that two is correct. Yes. Now this is all for weekly current affairs of the first week of November. Yes, we have discussed some 20 to 25 topics we have discussed in this last 3 hours of our sessions. We have solved them. Back home, just revise this and this will be more than sufficient. In a month, we'll be having some 4 weeks. Now 4 into 3 hours, we'll be getting 12 hours. Now with us 12 hours, on an average per week, some 25 questions, at least we can cover some 100 questions per month. That is more than sufficient. Yes. Now I hope you guys enjoyed the class. This is all for today. Thank you. See you all next week. Online, thank you. See you all next week. It is before leaving. If you have guys enjoyed the class, yes, just give a like. Exactly online, thank you. It is Ningu. Yes, thank you. Artha ida ellargu? Yes, yes, exactly. Yes, online, this is all for today. Exactly online. Yes, magazine will be released on 5th. Not an issue. Yes, thank you. See you all next week.